So it's Wednesday, March 6th, and Pat and I are here today to talk about UFC 249 happening this Saturday, May 9th in Jacksonville, Florida. It's been about a month since there's been a UFC card, so we've both been sitting around fiending a new fight card coming up, and we just thought we'd sit down, talk through the card, and do some breakdowns. Since we're usually doing that on our own time anyways, might as well just share it. So yeah, let's just get into it. What's the first fight of the night?
Sam Alvey versus Ryan Spann.
I've been a fan of Sam Alvey since as soon as he got in the UFC, or even a little bit before that. I saw him fighting in some shows overseas. As soon as I saw him with the smiley face shaved into the back of his hair, I was pretty sold on the guy. But he also just has delivered some pretty exciting fights. On the other side of things, though, in like his last couple outings, I think he's lost his last 3 in a row. And on the other hand, Ryan Spann has won his last 7 in a row. So it seems kind of crazy that you're matching these two guys up at this point in their career. To someone that didn't know Sam Alvey, it would seem like just like a really bad setup fight. But you know, right. Sam Alvey's always going to be competitive. Sam Alvey has a chance. He's like a veteran. I've seen him kind of lull people to sleep, making them think he's not dangerous, and then catching them with an overhand. But I don't really see that happening here. I feel like Ryan Spann's good. He's confident on a 7-fight win streak. He's 6'5", where Sam Alvey's 6'2". He's just got a lot of advantages on his side.
Spann's had really tough competition coming up in LFA. He became the LFA champion before going on Contender Series, getting into the UFC.
It's a strong track record.
Still undefeated. Beat, albeit an older Nogueira.
And Nogueira actually beat Sam Alvey. Not that you can do MMA math on that, but it's not a great look. When Spann had a fairly easy time with Nogueira, so hard to put money on him at this point. I would love to see Sam come out with a big performance, but seems highly unlikely. I don't think it'll be an easy night for Spann necessarily, but I think he pulls out the win.
Next up, we've got Bryce Mitchell and Charles Rosa.
Ooh. So yeah, I just watched a few Charles Rosa fights because I couldn't exactly remember who he was, and I think the reason for that is that he had a pretty long layoff. He hadn't fought from like 2016 to 2019. Took a few years off there with a neck injury.
Yeah, he had a neck injury, and doctors told him that he should probably never fight again.
Right.
And he said he was going to beat the odds, and he did. He came back and he got a really nice submission.
Right, and also fun fact, he used to be a hockey player, which is kind of cool. And he's also a chef at like a steakhouse wherever he's from.
Right, yeah.
Which is kind of funny, but awesome. I kind of like Rosa's style. I feel like he has more versatility, more things going on than Bryce does. He's got a pretty intense kick game, or just a lot of variety in his kicks, lots of different attacks. So yeah, just lots of things going on the feet. I feel like people are very high on Bryce Mitchell right now, and maybe not giving Charles Rosa the respect he deserves coming into this one. Just because Bryce had the submission of the year last year doesn't necessarily mean he can contend with a guy that has that much experience and a really good record.
Bryce will be the longer, taller guy. He's probably going to want to look to get it to the ground.
Charles has never been submitted, and he's won most of his fights by submission himself. So he's a grappler. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like looking at both of them that it's hard to imagine Bryce winning on the feet, and then they're both good enough on the ground that I don't really see them submitting each other. I just have to go with Charles Rosa. I don't know. What do you think? You sticking with the Twister man?
I'm leaning towards Bryce, yeah.
Yeah, you think he's going to out-grapple him?
Yeah, if he can out-grapple those animals on his farm, I think.
He had a deer with a body triangle and a rear naked choke. And I just assumed he had shot it. But he said, "I didn't shoot this deer, bro. This deer's alive." Just pinned its head. I hit it with an axe. It never even flinched. It was done. And that was it, man. It was a dead deer.
Yeah, rear naked choked it, man. That's the way to do it. I could have tried guillotine, but you're giving up position.
Just has that farmer strength, you know? It's an unnatural strength that not many people have.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do get that vibe from him. I liked him on Tough. He just seems like he's a very likable guy.
Bryce Mitchell also undefeated. 12-0 right now.
Which is super impressive, but...
Except he lost on the Ultimate Fighter, right? He must have.
Because he didn't win it?
Win.
Yeah, I don't recall who won that season, but I think you're right. That sounds right.
He lost to Brad Katona, the Canadian. Rear naked
Brad
choke.
Katona, very good also, so can't really hate on him too much for that. I still don't understand that they don't include tough records in UFC records because it is a fight. But yeah, at any rate, that's not making me change my opinion. I feel like if you look up the 12 people that he's beaten, it's like a lot of people without Wikipedia pages or a lot of people that aren't as strong, whereas you look at Charles Rose's page, he might be 14-3 or whatever he is, a couple losses, but his losses are to guys like Shane Burgos and Yair Rodriguez by split decision. Like, these are very legit people. So I'm sticking with Charles Rose on that one.
Awesome. Vincente Luque and Nico Price.
The fact that that's on the early prelims is so ridiculous. I love both those guys.
Yeah.
Either of those guys alone have like enough firepower where you're just excited to see them fight, but the two of them together, yeah, it's gonna be crazy.
Might not remember, but this is actually a rematch.
Is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I did not remember that. What happened last time?
Vincente Luque won.
Really? Knockout?
No, it was a submission. Yeah, he rocked him and then caught him in a Darce choke.
Hard to analyze the fight stylistically because Nico is so intense on the feet and also gets in so many strange positions that are different in every fight and seems to be able to knock people out and finish from weird spots, like the James Vick and a couple other fights recently. But Vincente Luque just seems like he is a very clean striker, and it's hard to imagine him getting outstruck on the feet. And then he does have lots of submission finishes as well, so he just seems like a more well-rounded, complete fighter.
Yeah, I gotta lean Luque as well. His striking is so tight. He's knocking out so many people in the UFC. His only blemishes are to the top of the top, like Stephen Wonderboy Thompson in this last fight. Went to a decision with it. He's not even getting beaten badly by these people. He's having close fights with most of them. I think the other one was Leon Edwards, who's also in the top 3 right now.
Crazy good. I'd say that it's a fairly closely matched fight, but I would put my money on Luque. Yeah, I mean, obviously Price is going to be pissed. He's going to come in hot, I imagine. The first round is going to be insane, but Vincente Luque is totally down for that sort of fight, and we'll swing with him. So Uriah Hall versus Jacare. I love Uriah Hall. I love the fact that he says that he like learned some of his moves from watching like Mortal Kombat or Street Fighter stuff.
He is one of the. He has a win on his record, submission from a punch.
Okay.
His 2 knockouts on The Ultimate Fighter were some of the most brutal things I've ever seen in my life.
Nasty.
You never see people just like curl up into a ball after getting hit, and he's done it multiple times in his career.
Yeah.
He just has like the way he moves his body and the amount of force he can generate, and maybe it's like his bone structure or something. He just really hurts people. It's crazy. And he's fast and dangerous, but he also just has a lot of holes in his game too, where he's just...
Which are mostly grappling related.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite, probably my favorite middleweight of all time is Gegard Mousasi, who he dusted in like the first round with a crazy spin kick.
Yeah.
But then Gegard came back and adjusted his game plan, took him down, and just beat him down.
Yeah.
In the first round on the ground. So it's interesting. Jacare's at a weird point in his career where he's moved up weight, and that didn't go so well for him, and now he's trying to come back down. He's quite a bit older. I'd say that that's the thing that makes this matchup a little bit strange, is that you're just not really sure where Jacare is at.
He's coming off 2 losses as well against Jack Hermanson and Jan Blachowicz, I think.
I have a hard time imagining that Jacare is going to lose. Like, you just think that he's going to get a hold of Uriah Hall at some point. As amazing as Uriah Hall's attack is, he does have lots of attacks that leave him open for takedowns and grappling and clinch exchanges, and if that happens, it seems like it's going to be the Jacare show. But if Jacare is slow and showing his age, then Uriah Hall might just pick him apart, especially if Uriah is smart and keeps his game more punching based and is just like setting up his kicks and not taking big risks that give Jacare openings for takedowns.
Same concerns and rationale. as you.
So you're thinking Jacare?
Leaning Jacare, yeah.
Yeah.
Carla Esparza and Watterson. Watterson just fought Jan Jacek. Esparza coming off I think performance the night with Alexa Grasso. Fight of the night against Grasso.
Michelle was doing well before her fight with Joanna. She was on a bit of a heater.
Yeah, I think she's on 3 or 4 fight win streak.
Yeah, look, I've always liked Michelle Watterson, karate hottie. She has the karate style, good jiu-jitsu, just my type of style, and I like her as a person, so I'm biased in this one, and I could not vote against Michelle Watterson. But I think even from a tactical perspective, if you look at it, Michelle's bigger than Carla. She's pretty difficult to take down. When she does get taken down, her jiu-jitsu is pretty solid for that division. I imagine Carla would have the ground advantage, but I think Michelle's good enough to either get back up or survive on the ground, and when it's on the feet, I think she has a fairly large advantage in the striking. And it's just, can Carla spend half the round or more on top getting her to the ground, or putting enough volume on her on the feet to convince the judges she's winning rounds?
Do you think this fight takes place more on the feet or on the ground?
I hope it takes place more on the feet, but Carla Esparza is very stubborn, and if she has her way, I imagine it's going to hit the ground often.
Mm-hmm. One thing about Michelle, she likes judo tosses a lot. Like when you kind of get in those single leg grappling exchanges, she'll hook someone's leg and toss them, get on top. Like she's very good at being scrambly, and so the wrestling exchanges might be interesting. And her jiu-jitsu is going to be way better than Carla's as well. So, I mean, technically, like, the wrestling will be better from...
I see what you're saying. That might be true. I don't know how high level Carla's jiu-jitsu is, but from an overall grappling standpoint, I feel like she's better. And if Michelle Watterson tries to do those judo throws, I'm going to freak out, because I think that goes very poorly for her against a wrestler that's that solid. And she's going to end up getting her back taken, or end up getting bulldozed and end up on her back. And I don't think it's going to be easy for her to get back up. I think that's what it's going to come down to a lot, of whether this is a striking match or whether it's a ground match, because I don't think there's any way to stop Carla from getting takedowns. But I think the fight's going to be decided by, can Michelle get back up, or does a takedown mean the rest of the round is on the ground now? So I think we'll know pretty fast.
Yeah. I'm leaning Michelle as well. I think she'll find a way to get it done.
See, I feel like my bias is getting in the way of a good decision, and Carla Esparza is probably going to win that one, but oh god, can't bet against Michelle.
Next one?
Yeah, next.
Alexei Olenek and Fabricio Verdum.
I don't know if you'll disagree with me here, but I think this is the easiest decision on the card. Like, this is a one-sided fight, if I've ever seen one on this card.
Fabricio?
For Fabricio, no, for Olenek.
Yeah?
No, for Fabricio. It's not even close. Like, I can't imagine how Alexei Olenek pulls this off, and I'd love him to, because that'd be like ridiculous.
That'd be by far the biggest sub of his career if he could get it.
Sub? Yeah, no, if he got like the, what's that show called? The Ezekiel choke?
Or a scarfold choke?
Oh my god, if he got any submission on Wording, it'd be ridiculous, and I feel like that's the main reason why he would take this fight.
We talked about Sam Alvey having a lot of fights. Olenek has a lot of fights, and that's because throughout his career, he's done more than 5 3-fight night tournaments.
Wow.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's fine for a guy like him, because he's just gnarly, man. He's just a scrapper. He's tough as nails. He's hard to finish, and he finds his way to one of those chokes eventually.
Yeah, I looked at one of his fight nights. He won by Ezekiel's choke 3 times in a row.
Oh my god.
All the fights taking place in just over 3 minutes.
Wow. That's ridiculous. The Ezekiel choke is a pretty weird thing, and I imagine that he just has an Ezekiel choke amongst Ezekiel chokes, and that it's specific for MMA with those gloves on. I don't understand it, but he has not caught anyone with that choke, as far as I know. That's like a jiu-jitsu black belt, much less a black belt amongst black belts. Fabricio Werdum.
I was trying to find out who the best person that he subbed is.
Right.
And I think it might be Jeff Monson, who's like a legit...
He's a legit grappler.
Yeah.
That's intense, but still not for Fabricio Werdum. Yeah, you've got to think Doom has the grappling advantage probably, and then there's no doubt in my mind that Doom has the striking advantage.
Yeah.
I feel like Fabricio, he really came into his own in the last couple of years of his UFC career there. Got a lot of confidence in his Muay Thai and his striking technique. Just started throwing a lot of smart combinations and keeping good distance, and it changed his career because then he was a scary striker who people started shooting at. Has the better striking, probably the better grappling. Hard to imagine a way Nick finishes the fight.
Yeah. And looking at Nick in his last fight, he got tired so fast in that fight. He looked like he was like sucking air from like halfway through the first round. I think he's just fading, but he's pretty old and
had a million fights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I feel like that's probably true. He's probably got more wear and tear than Fabricio, which is crazy in itself. It's hard to imagine him winning.
He's kind of just like a zombie going for a sub, and if you let him get you down, like he's gonna find a way to get it. But
yeah.
That's not going to happen against Fabricio, so...
No, well, the fights where he usually wins are against guys who feel the need to take him down to finish the fight. Like, even people that hurt Alexei on the feet, and then they'll follow him to the ground and try to get the finish, and then Alexei will end up turning things around on them. Fabricio has no need to take it to the ground. And he's also so relaxed in there. He's always smiling and laughing during his fights. Yeah, I just feel like he just lets Alexei get back up, or he just doesn't have any respect or fear of Alexei's ground game and just goes to the ground with him and demolishes him there, which I think is what I'd like to see. Either way, it's just hard to see Fabricio losing.
Next up is Cerrone and Pettis. This is another rematch.
And what happened?
Liver kick by Anthony Pettis. So Pettis was fighting in southpaw in that fight. He kind of mixed up his stances pretty often. I was trying to find out how often he does it.
A lot.
Just fighting from southpaw though, like, and looking for kicks. He doesn't do it all the time. Like against Max Holloway, he didn't do it at all. He was fighting in orthodox the whole time, which I found interesting.
Yeah, I imagine he has specific kicking strategies for specific fights, because he did lay out Joe Lozon back in the day with a
That was
nasty
another
head
one.
kick.
That was southpaw.
Yeah.
He fought in southpaw the whole time. Threw a couple kicks to the body.
It must be a Rufus thing where Rufus is just seeing openings and knows these people are susceptible to it. But yeah, you'd wonder why he doesn't do that to everyone, but maybe it's not there, or we're not seeing something.
The Lozon knockout was actually really nice. He did like a 1-2. He Lozon pawed at his hand, then he did it again, and then when he pawed, he landed that kick.
Yeah, threw it right over the top. Yeah, I remember that one. That was excellent.
And yeah, he did a similar style against Cerrone, just like hard body kicks. And
Right, so talk to me a little bit about where you feel like they both are in their career today.
kind of in a similar place actually.
They've both done the move up and down from lightweight. Pettis even went down to 45. Cowboy can never do that. But they've fluctuated up and down. Is this fight at 170 or 155?
Probably 70.
Probably 70, because they're not giving a fuck and just having fun at this point in their career. Yeah, that would make sense to me. Cerrone is the bigger guy for sure. He could never make 145 like Pettis did. But I don't really worry about that in the fight. Not like he's a huge 170.
They're both in a weird spot though. They're both coming off a lot of losses. Pettis 2-loss streak, Cerrone 3.
But who are they to?
Conor McGregor, Justin Gaethje, and Tony Ferguson, I think, for Cerrone. And then Pettis lost to Carlos Diego Ferreira.
Oh god, that fight was painful.
And Nate Diaz.
Right, and Nate Diaz had a very smart strategy in that fight to shut him down. Yeah, I think it's an interesting fight, kind of similar to Michelle Watterson. I'm a huge Anthony Pettis fan. I love people that strike and throw, not necessarily flashy strikes, but a lot of variety in their strikes. Kick heavy and great jiu-jitsu game. If you get scared of his striking and want to take him down, he's scary off his back. So I love that style. I don't know how it plays out in this fight. Cowboy seems stubborn and does not change his style and is just down to strike with everyone. So if you're not going to mix it up on Pettis and close the distance or do something to make him uncomfortable and switch up his game plan, I think he gets you eventually.
And also, if Cowboy can't start this fight fast, he's going to be in trouble.
Yeah, because Pettis only starts fights fast, and Pettis knows that. I think like Pettis's one of Pettis' issues is that if his confidence gets shaken and you get him out of his comfort zone, he has trouble getting back on track sometimes. Guys that can put the pressure on him, like in the Eddie Alvarez fight or even the Tony Ferguson fight to an extent, but it's more with the grappling. Guys with like Eddie Alvarez and
Clay Guida.
I was going to say Dos Santos, but yeah, Clay Guida even ruining his welcome to the UFC.
In his last fight, Diego Ferreira.
Yeah, Diego Ferreira, case in point. Like, if you can mix it up on him, change levels, get takedowns, he struggles. But if you're going to strike with him and give him 15 minutes, and plus he has the confidence of he knows Cerrone and he's beaten him before, he believes in himself, like, I think it's scary for Cerrone.
Mm-hmm. It'll be interesting to see what stance he takes in this fight, if he goes southpaw the whole time, this time again, or if he stays orthodox.
Cowboy's trying to spin this narrative recently where he's talking about how, you know, he's the king of short notice fights and he'll come in here unexpected and take out Anthony Pettis because this is his sort of deal. Do you buy into that at all?
A little bit. I think he gets in his head sometimes, and he fights better when he doesn't have to think about it as much.
Mm-hmm.
He probably like fights better in the gym than he does on like a huge fight night where he's like building up for 3 months. I think that's why he likes to fight so often.
Yeah.
He'll take like 5 fights a year because it makes him feel fresher and it takes some of the pressure off him and the stress. Like, I think he's just anxious. So I think taking a short notice fight does make him better.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. The other thing that kind of struck me was that he said that when he got the offer to fight Pettis, the first thing he did was text Pettis and was like, yo man, is this really happening? Like, what's going on? Have you got your contract yet? Have you signed it? It just makes it sound like they're boys. And at a point, I think that makes Cerrone feel more comfortable because he's like not getting that feeling of I'm going into this unknown warrior in the octagon who's super young and whatever. He's fighting a guy who's known forever, known since the WEC days. He's fought him before, known entity. He can't possibly have a worse loss than he just had against Conor McGregor, which was really rough. So he's probably going in there with nothing to lose and not scared of Anthony Pettis. So it'll be interesting. I love Cowboy. I love both those guys, so I wouldn't really be mad at either of them winning, but I'm just a big believer in Pettis, even at this point in his career, having the strategies and the belief in himself. So it'll be interesting to see how that one plays out.
Okay, Greg Hardy and Jorgen De Castro.
Next. No, it'll be, I think that'll be an interesting fight to an extent. It's the worst fight on this entire card, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's ridiculous that that's on the main card with some of those fights that are on the prelims.
Greg Hardy should be 7-1 right now, but he's 5-2 because he illegally needs somebody who's beating up, and he took a puffer in the middle of a round, in the between round break.
Yeah, he's just not doing himself any favors when he was already coming in with like a black mark on his record with what he's done in his past. So it's frustrating. And
He just
no one
survived.
likes him.
He just survived a fight with Volkov, though.
Yeah, no, I was impressed.
He didn't look bad.
Do you remember Jorgen De Castro's last fight?
Yeah.
Because I think we watched it together. It was on that Whitaker Adesanya card, and he knocked out Justin Taffa.
Mm-hmm.
It was pretty impressive, pretty fast. Watching Greg Hardy's performance against Volkov, you can see how high his ceiling is potentially. And based on Jorgen De Castro's performances, like quick knockouts like that against like just kind of mediocre heavyweights that we don't really know, it's hard to tell where his ceiling is or how good he is. He does show like good calm and good stopping power, and I think that's a lot in the heavyweight division, but when you see Greg Hardy go the distance with someone like Volkov, you just see such a higher ceiling on him that it's hard to bet against him in this situation for me.
Yeah.
So if he can get his head out of his ass and not get disqualified in the fight, then
He probably wins.
yeah, he probably has good luck.
Jeremy Stevens versus Calvin Kattar.
Oh, such a good
Calvin
fight.
Kattar.
Such a good fight. Like that's main card worthy.
Yeah.
That's main event worthy. That's such a good fight. For a fight night card, that would be a solid main event.
Jeremy Stevens is tied for the second most fights in the UFC. He has 32 UFC fights now.
Wow, is he really? That's crazy. Yeah, he has been around forever. He was in the UFC fighting like Marcus Davis when I first started watching UFC forever ago, and that was at 170. and he was just short and jacked and swinging for the fences. And now he's at his proper weight division, and he's a killer. He's had a few rough nights, but for the most part, like, I think he's showing his potential, and he's like everything he was meant to be earlier in his career now, that he's in a proper weight class, and he's got good patience and some additional technique added onto his kind of brawler style. He's got like the interesting level changes where he scares people like he's going for a takedown. He throws low calf kicks with like huge power on them that totally change fights. He's got the overhands that are always scary. He's very good at timing people's straight punches. So he's just generally a scary guy to deal with. But then Calvin Kattar might be the best boxer we've seen in that weight class.
Yeah. When, like, you can see in the Lamas fight, he'll just stand there and eat a leg kick. Like, he'll sit on it, and he'll throw a punch back. And he does very small, like, precise footwork when he's boxing with people. Like small steps in, small steps out. He's always in like he's in his range at all times.
Yeah.
And his reading of range is really nice, and he hits the chin a lot.
A lot, and not necessarily always throwing with power, but always snapping punches out there and good accuracy, good volume. I think his fight with Shane Burgos that we watched a while ago, I didn't know who either of them were when we watched that fight, and I was kind of half watching it, and then by the time we were like a minute or two into the first round, I couldn't take my eyes off it because they were both so good, and it was so intense, and I thought by the end of that fight that whoever wins this is probably like going to be a future contender in this division because they're both so good, and just one of those instances where two guys with huge ceilings and huge potential caught each other early in their career and made for a great fight. So ever since then, I've been a believer in Calvin Kattar. And his fight was to beat, like, he was coming together in the end of that fight, and it just gave you the feeling that maybe if that was a 5-rounder, it would have been different. He's just, he's very good.
Jeremy Stephens is like the ultimate gatekeeper, not in like a very bad way. Like he's
like a gatekeeper to the top 5.
To the top 5, yeah. He only loses to the best of the
Korean
best.
Superboy tried to walk into the top 5, and he was like, get the fuck out of here, and just shut him down.
He doesn't lose to anybody that's not in the top 5.
Yeah, if you're not absolutely great, then you're not going to get past him. Because I think we all thought Superboy was going to go into the top 5 at some point, and Jeremy was not having that. Yeah, it'll be interesting because I do feel like, especially early in the fight, Stephens is going to be more willing to put on the pressure. Calvin seems to like just take his time measuring and is not in a rush and is okay to lose on points early to find his distance later and finish the fight. But Jeremy just has a confidence in himself where he'll come out and he thinks he has his range right away, and he'll just, if he doesn't, he'll just throw anyways until he finds it, start hacking hard leg kicks and throwing big hooks. So it'll be interesting to see whether Calvin can capitalize on that or whether he's going to take so much damage early that it makes it difficult for him later on.
And your pick for the fight?
Ah, man, I just think Calvin Kattar's the future, and it's his time, probably. Jeremy Stephens always has the chance to go in there and just knock him out or hurt him badly, as I was saying in those first couple of rounds. Oh, man, it's tough. But I think Calvin's got to be favored in that one.
Yeah, I feel the same way.
That is one of the ones that I think is closest, though, where I think it's two guys hitting each other at the perfect time in their career, where Jeremy Stephens is still trying to prove that he's relevant and that he's not that gatekeeper of the top 5 and that he is the top 5 and that he can fight for a title. He wants that badly. And Calvin's the guy that's getting in his way. So, damn, yeah, it's just going to be a firefight. I think that could be fight of the night.
Up next, we got Ngannou and Rozenstruik.
Honestly, I don't know. It seems like most people are probably going to pick Ngannou and think that he's a huge favorite. Rozenstruik does have a lot of striking and a good record. So I think that it's an interesting fight. But at the same time, Alistair Overeem had an amazing kickboxing record and pedigree, and he just got dusted by Ngannou in the first round.
How did you think Rozenstruik looked against Alistair?
I mean, compared to how Ngannou looked against Alistair, it's
Not great.
Yeah, not great. So Rosenstruck looked like he was getting picked apart by Alistair and was confused and having trouble finding his timing. And then in the 5th round, when Alistair was tired, he finally took advantage of it and knocked him out.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe that was just his plan, and he was waiting for a moment where he could capitalize. He did seem very calm, and I don't think Alistair ever really hurt him in that fight.
Mm-hmm.
So it was an interesting fight. It definitely didn't give me a ton of confidence, though, that Rosenstruck can go in there and beat Ngannou. Not that fight specifically.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, though, is that Rosenstruck has fought enough really scary dudes that I think he can stand in the pocket and not freak out.
Right.
Which I think is all you need to do to pretend to have a chance against Ngannou.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you're gonna freak out at some point because the guy just wings crazy haymakers. But if you can stay in there and not overreact to those and catch him with one counter punch or a takedown or something, God, I feel like the opportunity's there for a big upset. Hard to not look at all the scary knockouts from Ngannou and just be overwhelmed with the feeling that he's like destined to win the fight.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to imagine anyone beating him because he's the scariest guy I've ever seen.
Yeah. And he's only getting better.
Right. And Stipe pulled off one of like the most amazing performances I've ever seen by shutting him down and getting the win. But even then, Stipe barely did it. And I don't think Rosenstruck is what Stipe is. And I think Ngannou at this point might be better. Like it's been a year or two since then, so he's probably been working on his wrestling. He's probably tuned some things up. Maybe he has some extra moves. Like it's just getting scarier and scarier. So it's a scary spot for Rosenstruck.
Ngannou's got the funding and the team and like all the things that he needs to get his game in order.
Yeah, it seems like he's sponsored by the UFC. He
Right.
lives the PI. He's just constantly at the UFC Performance Institute getting optimal training. Then once in a while you just see him back like at his mom's house breaking boulders the size of this table with a hammer. I don't know what the man's life is like. Yeah, money's on Ngannou, 100%. There's nothing I've seen from Rosenstruck, as much as I'd like to think there's an upset waiting there. There's nothing I've seen from him that makes me think that he's better than Ngannou, or that he can stop the train at this point.
Yeah, I feel the same way. He doesn't have the same explosiveness as Ngannou, and yeah, there's just nothing about his game that I think gives him an edge on Ngannou.
I think the only thing that gives him the edge is his experience in striking and the potential that he could stay calm under fire and capitalize.
Land a counter.
And land a counter. I think that's his big chance in the fight, but
Shell up and then try throwing, like, as soon as you see one of Ngannou's punches coming.
yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily shell up, because I don't think Ngannou's the type of guy where you can cover your head and hope that that's going to be enough to block his overhand. He'll probably get knocked out anyways, but just don't freak out. Don't try to, like, slip out of there, because you might not make it. Like, you've got to stay in there and maybe try to slip under punches or get into a clinch or a takedown. Just avoid his strikes and look for a moment for you to land. And he's humongous and will get tired if you can do that and survive for a little while.
He has beat Ngannou in a straight striking match yet.
Yet I think that's this guy's best bet, is to probably outstrike him.
Right. So, it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah. Praying for Rosenstruck.
Title fight, Triple C, Henry Cejudo versus Dominic Cruz.
Maybe my favorite fight of the night. So pumped for Dominic Cruz coming back. You start off on this one. What do you think?
Henry Cejudo, he went from being a wrestling heavy guy to being extremely well-rounded, and now his last two fights were ultimately impressive. He's fully rounded out his game. He's dangerous everywhere. He has the power to finish people. He's a really interesting fighter now. Cruz is one of my favorite people to watch. I absolutely love his footwork. Can he stop Henry from taking him down? I don't think so. Can he beat him in striking? Probably, but does he have enough power to hurt him? Probably not. Cruz can keep a pace going the whole time. Like you have no worries about Cruz getting tired.
Not going to break.
Right. So if it's a stand-up fight the entire time, Cruz could pick him apart. But I think that Henry will go to his wrestling at some point.
It's not like guys haven't tried to wrestle Dominic Cruz throughout his career, but
Yeah.
it's just because it's Henry Cejudo trying to wrestle you that
Yeah.
you're worried.
Yeah, like Cruz has been able to hold off like the Fabers of the world who are good MMA wrestlers, like solid wrestlers.
But different generation and not nearly the level Henry Cejudo's at.
Yeah.
Freestyle wrestling too. Yeah, I think back to the Mighty Mouse fight against Dominic Cruz, and I don't know how well you remember that one, but it seemed like because Mighty Mouse was quite a bit smaller and faster, he was actually getting the edge on Dominic Cruz striking in that fight. Like, he was edging out the striking situations, or at least it was very close. It was too close for comfort for Cruz, so Cruz started resorting to his wrestling and taking down Mighty Mouse and got him with a bunch of suplexes and different things because he's quite a bit bigger than Mighty Mouse was. So my concern is, I guess, that if he gets into a tough situation in the striking and Cruz is like ace up his sleeve or backup plan, or just his gut instinct when he's under pressure is to go to wrestling, that could be a nightmare for him. But then I think about Cruz's comebacks that he's had in his past, how good he comes back sometimes, that he might be the greatest bantamweight of all time, that he beat TJ Dillashaw, who I know Henry Cejudo beat, but it was a compromised TJ Dillashaw at 125. Dominic beat him at his best. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not totally sold on the fact that Cejudo is just going to bulldoze him here. I feel like Dominic has a chance, has some outs.
Since his last fight against Cody Garbrandt, he broke his arm and injured his shoulder. He also fought the Cody Garbrandt fight with plantar fasciitis, which is absolutely nasty.
Yeah.
It hurts to even walk with that, and the type of footwork that he needs to employ his game.
Yeah, he wasn't right in that fight. We all could see that.
Yeah.
There's something wrong. And Cody Garbrandt also had an amazing performance.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, I hear you, and I feel like you're thinking Triple C for the win.
I'm leaning that way in my mind. Yes.
Yeah. And how do you think he does it? Decision? Or finishes him on the ground with ground pound?
I would say decision. I don't think it's easy to put Cruz away.
Well, Cruz hasn't been finished since like Uriah
Faber
got him
shot
to the
him?
guillotine, WEC, so long ago. So yeah, it's hard to imagine getting finished, but I do think that if Cejudo wins, he'll probably get the finish, because, I don't know, his explosiveness is crazy in the ground and pound. I think it'll be interesting. Yeah, I can't wait to see them get in wrestling exchanges, and even to see how Dominic's style plays out in the striking exchanges. Because I think part of how Dominic's style was built is to defend himself against wrestling with his footwork. And I imagine that he's been looking at Cejudo and thinking about fighting him for at least a year at this point. So he's going to have some specific plans in place for Cejudo. Yeah, I'm putting my money on Cruz. I feel like the size and just like the overall intelligence of Cruz, if he's actually coming back in at 100%, I think he can figure something out and squeak out a decision against Cejudo. Really interested to see how the wrestling and the striking and it all plays out. It's a really tough fight to pick. I think it's close, but
Yeah, Cruz could probably write a book about how he's going to beat Henry Cejudo, because he thinks about it so much and he's so analytical.
I'm sure he knows how Henry enters for takedowns, how he jumps in with his karate style striking, how he switches up this and that. Like, Henry is not going to be able to just walk him down and pressure Cruz like he did Marlon Moraes. That's not.
He's not going to back him into the cage either.
No, and I don't think like his explosive kind of karate-esque style that he has going on, I think is very good and catches a lot of people off guard, but we'll see how Cruz copes with that. I think he's always been good against really fast strikers. I've heard lots of people say things about how fast Cruz is, but I don't necessarily think he's so fast. I think it's just that he has really good timing, good reactions, good footwork, and it makes him seem fast, or it makes a lot of people seem slow and they're missing him all the time. So I don't think that his age or his time off is necessarily going to take that away from him. I think he'll still have it, and I think he'll make Cejudo miss. And when the bigger guy connects with Cejudo, I think it will do real damage. And we'll see how Cejudo copes with that. I know he coped with it well in the Moraes fight, but it was more leg kick heavy damage. So,
And also, Rice faded hard in that fight.
yeah, exactly. Cruz can do the same thing for 5 rounds.
Yeah.
I'd say what I'm really betting the house on, though, or what I'm gambling on by putting my money on Cruz, is the fact that I'm saying that Cruz is going to come in at his best. Like, I feel like Cruz is going to come in the best he's ever been, and just represent and show people what's up, show people why he's the best bantamweight of all time. If he comes in with plantar fasciitis and his shoulder's fucked up, he's a dead man. Like, if there's any vulnerabilities, Cejudo will snip it out, and he's also a really fast starter, so I think we'll know by the end of the first round who's going to win the fight. And I hope it's Dominic Cruz.
Yeah, I'd love to see Dominic win as well.
Yeah.
I just don't have as much faith as you.
If he wins, it will be like the best story in combat sports. It will be amazing.
Multiple comebacks from injuries to win titles.
Ridiculous comebacks. Not as ridiculous as Tony Ferguson's comeback. We're all into the next fight, but yeah, amazing injury comebacks.
So last fight, Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje.
For the interim lightweight title,
Yeah.
who's your money on?
Ferguson.
Ferguson. I'm feeling Gaethje now.
Yeah?
I don't know. I've gone back and forth a little bit over the last couple of days. And tell me why Ferguson.
Because he finds a way.
Because he finds a way. Not because he's won 15 fights in a row.
That helps, but
Yeah.
you can just see it time and time again that he gets creative and he does unorthodox things and he finds ways to hurt people. He's so aggressive. Like, a lot of people that Gaethje hurts are moving backwards,
Yes.
and Ferguson does not move backwards.
He will.
No.
Yes, he will. There's no way you can move forward into Justin Gaethje 100% of the time.
I just don't think we're going to see Ferguson backing away from him. I think if he touches him, he's going to wrestle with him or like roll into an Imanari roll, like grab a leg. Like, he's going to do something. He's not going to be running away from Gaethje. There's just no way.
No, I don't think he's going to be running away from Gaethje.
Like, Ferguson hunts people down. He walks them down.
Yes.
Gaethje,
Hunts people down, walks them down.
he does, but he also stands in place and takes shots and looks to counter.
Mm-hmm.
He keeps his hands low, and then when somebody comes in, he totally shells up and he like looks for a shot, or he looks to leg kick them when they finish their combo.
Yeah.
He'll constantly punish the legs. He's looking for kill shots, and yeah, I don't think he's been on the ground in the UFC yet, or at least not very much.
Gaethje?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean,
They
he's
all-
one of those guys that when he hits the ground, he's just like a spring and he's back on his feet already.
Yeah, I had to look back a little bit to see some of his groundwork. And you can see it in his WSOF fights a little bit. But I haven't seen him on the bottom, which is... Well, that's not where Ferguson wants to put him necessarily. Like, Ferguson would be fine pulling guard on him almost,
I
right?
doubt Ferguson shoots a takedown.
No, but he could Eminari roll him.
Sure. Yeah.
Get a hold of a leg, then fall into guard or something.
So Ferguson just made weight how many weeks ago?
Maybe 2-3 weeks ago.
Yeah, I feel like it's 2-3 weeks ago. So he made weight 3 weeks ago. He's kind of psychotic. He's scary. He's had the fight fall through with Khabib 6 times. The weird thing is I feel like I would be less worried about Tony fighting Khabib than I am about Tony fighting Gaethje. I feel like Gaethje's a bad matchup.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Gaethje's last couple fights, just crushing people in the first round, Cowboy and Edson Barboza and James Vick recently, like, he is just finding ways to kill people in the first round, which is a bit of a change up from his style in the past. I think he was realizing through those losses to Dustin Poirier and Eddie Alvarez that he had people on the ropes early and kind of let them off the hook, and then he's not he made mistakes like over the long distance fight, or was getting people were picking away to his body, and he's just falling apart cardio wise later on. So I think he just changed up his style, and now he's blitzing people a little bit. So it'll be interesting to see how he comes out against Tony, but I think he comes out with a similar style. And Tony, not that he's a slow starter in the same way that Don Cerrone is, but he kind of ramps up over time. He's constantly putting more and more pressure on you. So the first round's going to be crazy.
What do you think happens in the leg kick exchange between them?
I don't think there is any leg kick exchange. Like, I think Gaethje's leg kicks are far superior, vastly superior. Way more power, great timing.
I was trying to think of other leg kickers that Ferguson's fought, and he fought Barboza as well. And he literally just closed the space on him. Like, he runs into him. Yeah. He's not staying in a kicking range. He's going past that right into him and just throwing punches, like putting his hands in front of his face.
Yes, but if Justin knows I'm throwing leg kicks, now you don't like leg kicks, you're going to run into me, and I know you're in punching range, what does that make Justin do? I feel like that sets him up for his knockouts, for his big swings with the hands. Because all he's trying to do with his kicks are either make you run backwards so he can chase you with his hands, or make you run into him so then you're in punching range and you can do work there. And he's never really worried about the wrestling exchanges because of his wrestling pedigree. And looking back at the Pettis fight is kind of weird because Tony was so messed up coming back in for that one. He was hurt from the layoff and coming back 6 months after an ACL surgery. Doesn't make any sense. But Pettis trashed Tony with leg kicks in that fight, and then dropped him with an overhand right and was just picking Tony apart. So, yeah, it's interesting.
And then broke his hand.
And then broke his hand, and then got picked apart against the fence, and then Duke Rufus stopped it because he's a good coach. But I'm just watching that. I'm not sure how much Tony's changed between then and now. I feel like Tony's stuck in his ways, and he is going to push forward like that, and he's going to push forward directly into heavy hands and leg kicks, and Justin's going to push forward. And the first round is going to tell the story, because I think Tony could get hurt so badly in that first round that it either ends the fight or makes it so he's too compromised to continue at his best.
Yeah. Gaethje is a damage fighter.
Yeah, he's not a point fighter. He doesn't care about winning any round. You're going to lose the fight. You're not going to be able to continue at some point.
And he's not worried about trading either. He's happy to take a punch to hit you with one of his because he's confident that his are better.
Yeah.
More damaging. Yeah, that does give me
Pause.
Yeah.
Looking at their styles and looking at their recent performances, I haven't think Tony's looked amazing. And I think Justin has looked amazing. And this is his chance. So it's going to be interesting. Can Justin take everything that Tony's worked for, winning 15 fights in a row, being an absolute savage? Or is Tony going to pull out one more and finally get to that fight with Khabib or Conor McGregor, whoever's next for him? Either way, it's legendary, and I can't wait for the next fight.
See, the thing is, when, say he does hurt him, Tony's not going to get flat knocked out. He's going to get wobbled and end up on the ground. Actually, but Justin makes people stand up. He doesn't follow them down.
Nah.
Sucks.
Yeah, that's true. Wouldn't that be amazing for him to knock down Tony and wave him back up to the feet?
Yeah, he's done that to multiple people.
Yes. Yeah, he has no interest in the ground game for a Division I wrestler. It's very odd. But yeah, it makes for an exciting fight, and I'm sure Tony will be happy for it.
The fight that I did go back and watch, the guy tried to take down Gaethje. Gaethje stuffed it. The guy pulled like half guard out of it, and then Gaethje just stalled him out until the ref stood them up. He didn't even punch, just complete stall tactic. Like,
I guess why take a risk if you don't want to be there anyways? I mean, maybe,
so that makes me feel like he's not that confident in his jiu-jitsu.
Maybe, or maybe he's just tired. Maybe that fight's a long time ago.
No, this was like 20 seconds into the first round.
Huh. Yeah, who knows? Who knows?
This was like 17-0 Justin Gaethje against 17-3 Jack Brazilian dude.
I know that guy. Like, what's his name?
Luis Palomino, I think.
Yeah.
Or no, it was Luis Fermano or something.
What's his nickname? Buscape.
Was it Busca? Yeah,
I think it's Buscape. Yeah. Busca. He was on Season of Tough.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that fight. I remember that fight made me worried for Gaethje.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was a long time ago. I feel like he's still finding who he is as a fighter and figuring things out. And I think his couple losses in the UFC has helped him figure that out. And maybe he's ready for it at this point. Maybe I'm wrong. But I like where he's heading with his style, and he's had a few wins recently where I thought he'd be in trouble, and he just crushed guys. So I'm a believer at this point.
You're not a believer in Tony finding a way, like he always has?
Hey, 15-0 is really hard to argue with, so I have no qualms with anyone that's picking Tony to win this fight. I totally respect that. When I did a poll on my Instagram, it was 90-something% people thinking Tony were gonna win. So I get it. I just feel like the stylistic matchups are really interesting, and I'm going for the dark horse. I feel like it's that close.